Well, I was standing on the top of a 3-story building. So there's 3 floors between me and the ground. I look down, I'm backing up to go rappelling. I look down, there's something wrong with my harness. I'm on the ground. And at the campus infirmary, they gave her a prescription. She went and got it filled at a pharmacy, came back to the dorm. A couple days later, she was in the emergency room. And they're going, what in the world is going on? And the doctor had prescribed, and the pharmacist had filled a lethal dose of the medication.
Wendi, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, a lot of your people or the people you've interviewed, I have a long version and a short version. The short version is I did low carb keto and then I found carnivore. The long version is a lot more convoluted. Um, I was one of those people who was very unlucky, and I had my first trip to the emergency room when I was 5 days old because of digestive issues. And I've had digestive issues the rest of my life. Um, my temperature has been always low, and I don't think I have actually ever been absent from school for a temperature because if I have a temperature of 98.6, it's like 2 points high for me, but it's just normal. So I was never sick enough temperature wise to be absent from school. But anytime I'm sick, I end up throwing up. So it's like my stomach is involved in anything. And whenever I was a kid, how do I put this? I was born 1 month early in breech, and my mom did not know, or the doctors did not know when I was born. I wasn't breathing, and they were too busy saving my life. My mom had to tell them what time I was born. So she was awake for that. And I've been autistic ever since. But I am very high functioning autistic. I'm actually a teacher. I'm currently 61 years old. And as of today, 240 pounds, which is 109 kilograms. I also teach math, so I have to do conversions, and I'm going, oh, I can do this. Anyway, whenever I was young, I was a little bit weird. We'd go to a steakhouse, and I was the child who got the liver and onions. I was also anemic. And this is one of my first introductions to do I really want to take medicine? They gave me iron pills. And I didn't take them for a while, and I left them in the bathroom. And then I pulled them out and I said, why are my pills rusted? Because I could actually see the rust on the pills. I'm going, no, thank you. I never liked taking medication. And one of my earliest memories was one of my parents. I go in and I say, I'm not feeling good. And they said, are you going to take anything? And I said, no. Then they say, quit your belly aching and get to work. So I learned early that everybody else thought medication was the correct way of handling being sick. And it's just, I've always been a little bit odd about that. The biggest, how should I say, milestone of my life was whenever I was 17. Give or take a little bit of time, but whenever I was 17, which is 40 plus years ago, I gave blood for the first time. Now, I've always been, this lethargic, don't want to do anything kind of person. I've never been anywhere sporty. I gave blood, and you know how they have you go over to the side and sit down after you give blood so they make sure you don't pass out? I could not sit down. I felt like I wanted to run a marathon. I mean, I was literally bouncing. And I'm going, this is not right. I'm anemic. I just lost a lot of blood. And now all of a sudden I want to do stuff. And I've tried all my life to figure out what in the world's going on and why I've got this opposite reaction whenever I lose massive amounts of blood. Still haven't figured that one out. Um, but also, whenever I was 17, I noticed that I was addicted to dairy and bread. I didn't like either one, but if there was like a loaf of French bread, one of those long loaves of French bread, if I cut off one slice, I would eat the whole loaf. I couldn't just eat one slice, I would eat the whole loaf. Same with ice cream. We bought it in the real gallons. This is before shrinkflation. So it was a half gallon size. I'd buy the half gallon or get the half gallon, take out one scoop, and before I know it, there was no ice cream left. And I know this is not normal. And I was 17 and I figured out this is not normal. But what do you do? You're supposed to have your dairy and you're supposed to have your grains. And anyway, so I didn't do that. But at this time, when I was 17, I actually joined the military and I was at my healthiest weight ever, which is 150 pounds or 68 kilograms. I went to basic training, and as I was at basic training, it was in the summertime, and I got too hot, basically heat exhaustion. The girl gave me a saltwater canteen. I took one swig of that saltwater canteen, handed it back to her, and said she gave me the wrong canteen. And that's when I found out how you test for salt. If your body needs salt, you can't taste it. And that's why they always say salt to taste, because until you taste the salt, you need more salt. But that was the first time I had heat exhaustion. And I have had some form of heat exhaustion every year. We're talking, I was 17, 61 now, until last year or this year, whenever I was on Carnivore. And I almost died. The first time I go out, I play putt putt a lot. So I'm outside in the sun playing a game, and I didn't even get hot. I mean, I got a little bit sweaty, but I never even got hot. So that was one of the benefits that I'm going, you mean it actually helps with heat regulation? But that was the one of the big things. Also, around this time, starting college, my roommate got sick. So she went to the campus infirmary. And at the campus infirmary, they gave her a prescription. She went and got it filled at a pharmacy, came back to the dorm. A couple days later, she was in the emergency room. And they're going, what in the world is going on? And the doctor had prescribed, and the pharmacist had filled a lethal dose of the medication. If she had continued taking the medication, she would have died because they had prescribed and filled a lethal dose. And that just, okay, I don't like medications. Big time. Well, I there's one more thing that happened when I was 17, but I'll cover that at the end. I gradually, about the time I was 20, started putting on weight and putting on weight. Just a little bit, 5 pounds here, whatever. Until the beginning of 2022, I was 335 pounds or 152 kilograms. Okay. I did low carb. I started low carb. I had previously done Atkins. I did one stint with my mom on Weight Watchers. I went like 3 weeks and says, "This is not for me. This is crazy." But I did Atkins and I was able to lose a lot. But as soon as I stopped doing the induction or whatever they call it, it went right back up. So similar story to a lot of other people. But I knew that Atkins had worked before, so I tried to remember. I didn't get the book, so I'm trying to remember what all Atkins was. And I gradually, using the low carb, um, got down to 295 pounds, which is 40 pounds, but it's 134 kilograms. Well, then I started keto. And in the middle here, I had been diagnosed with sleep apnea. And um, a lot of people don't like the mask on the sleep apnea that you get the CPAP. And I learned I've got to do this because if I didn't use it, I'll wake up with a headache, which is basically I'm giving myself a mini stroke every night because I'm not getting enough oxygen. So I started using it. Well, I was on the CPAP for about 8 years, and somewhere in there, I must have developed GERD, but it was silent GERD. So I had this massive cough, and stuff is going on, and I'm coughing, but that was the only symptom I had, except for occasionally I would have trouble swallowing my food to the point where I think I'm choking to death. But it wasn't up here, it's down here somewhere. And well, how do I put this? At the beginning of last year, my mom had a hiatal hernia and she basically went 6 months without eating anything. And so we were worried about her because she's literally not eating. She ended up having to have surgery. But during this time, my GERD and whatever got completely out of control. And every time I ate meat, I started throwing up. Now, here I am going keto. And every time I eat meat, I start throwing up. And I'm going, what in the world is going on? And it was, this is getting worse and it's getting worse. So it's almost every time I eat now, if I eat meat, I'm going to be throwing up. Well, I found carnivore and I'm going, well, carnivore is supposed to help this stuff, but I can't do carnivore because I can't eat meat. I'm going, this is not good. Anyway, I was keto for about a year. And at the end of last year, so I've been carnivore for 1 year. At the end of last year, I was 235 pounds, 107 kilograms. Now, last year was this really, really weird year. Okay. Um, I had high blood pressure. I've already said I had low blood body temperature. Oh, before I get started on last year, I was autistic with Asperger's. I was really high functioning autism. I finally got the perfect example so that other people can understand what an autistic person feels in a social situation. All you have to do is think about the worst stress you were under during COVID and how every single rule had changed, and you have to figure out the world in this new set of rules that you're under. And that's how I feel every single day. To me, COVID was a blessing. I get to stay in, I don't have to deal with people. It was like, oh, I can relax. But everybody else is stressed out, and I'm going, oh, now you know what I feel like. But that's literally, just think about it. If you go out into a store, every time you turn around, okay, am I safe to be here? Is this a good place to be? Every day. Okay. So I'm on carnivore, and after 3 months, I'm in church and I have my eye protection and I'm wearing sunglasses inside. I have my hearing noise canceling headset on, all that sort of stuff. I'm in church and they're singing, and I look at my husband and I'm going, I noticed I didn't have my hearing protection on. Have they turned the music down? He said, no, it's the same volume. And right then I said, I'm never eating another vegetable. In case you're wondering, I actually had to get a white piece of paper. Even my reading glasses have color on them. But it's just this, all of a sudden, my brain started working better. And I'm going, I don't care if I lose weight now or not. I can actually see outside. I don't have to wear sunglasses. I've actually stopped carrying them. At one point in school, I actually told my principal I was wearing sunglasses, and he says, you're not supposed to have sunglasses in school. And I said, when do you want my resignation? That's how important the sunglasses were. Now I don't even wear them.
And sorry, how long had you been doing carnivore that you noticed this?
About 3 months.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm just wearing my reading glasses is all I need now. But I did that. I'm off my blood pressure medications. My energy level is better. Um, I forget who it was, but somebody else actually got on. Now, I knew from way back when I was 17 that I had an issue with salt. I was watching one of the carnivore videos, and they were doing something on migraines, and it's salt. And so I actually, okay, now whenever I start getting a headache, I get me some salt, and poof, there goes the headaches. So since I started carnivore, I haven't had a migraine. Um, I'm off my CPAP ish. I got to tell you the story. It's part of this year. And then my GERD is a lot better. So I started off, the first thing I noticed again was that not all my symptoms, but a lot of the symptoms of the autism, the hypersensitivity is gone. By the way, I can now wear something that's not cotton. I can actually wear normal clothes. Yay! Um, but then a real interesting thing came up. I got a sore throat, and me not wanting to take medication, I say I'll live with it. Well, that was on a Friday. By Sunday afternoon, I could not lay down to go to sleep. I was sleeping in the recliner. I couldn't open my. It's like I was doing it, and I could not open my mouth. I'm going, thank God I was keto and now carnivore because I do intermittent fasting because it's painful to swallow anything. So, how in the world, if I can get it in my mouth, I can't swallow it? So, I ended up grinding my way through it until it was started on Friday, started getting the problems eating on Sunday. Monday, it was almost impossible. Doctor's open on Tuesday. So I call my doctor. He says, we'll get you in tomorrow. And I've got this. My throat is so sore, I can't open my mouth. I can't see the doctor till tomorrow. I will not go to urgent care around here. And the hospital here is atrocious as far as speed. I'm not going to wait 5 hours for somebody to look. So I'm going, what in the world do I do? Then I say, oh, my teeth are hurting. I'm going to call my dentist. I go into the dentist. The dentist looks at what he can, says, I see a little bit of infection back there. Here's an antibiotic. So I started the antibiotic actually before I saw the doctor. I go to the doctor, and this is a good old boy country doctor. Okay. I go in there and I'm sitting down. It hurts to talk and all this sort of stuff. And I'm going, I can't do anything. I can't open my mouth. It's a good thing I've done intermittent fasting because I can't eat. My doctor says, oh, have you heard of Jason Fung? And I'm going, I got a doctor who knows something. And so he had started doing intermittent fasting. His wife had lost a lot of pounds. He had lost a lot of pounds. He works with carnivore, and I'm saying, well, I mean, he works with keto. I do carnivore, and I'm going, hallelujah! I accidentally stumbled onto a doctor who knows what's going on. But I ended up having a peritonsillar abscess, which is basically like a really big pimple or a boil on the back of my throat. Okay, I'll give you an example of why I don't want to go to this emergency room. My doctor is 2 counties over, so it's like an hour to get to his office. Drove to his office. Um, he sent me to get an x ray because he figured out it was probably this. Sitting down to take the CAT scan or whatever it was, I'm telling him I can't breathe. Um, so they thought that I was talking about I don't like being in that little round thing, I think. Right. But no, I literally could not breathe while they were taking the shots. But I got through that, and then me and my husband came home to get the prescription that the doctor had given me. We just get out of the pharmacist, and we get a phone from the doctor, says, this is worse than we thought. You need to go to the emergency right now, because if it gets any bigger, it could cut off your airway and you're going to be in real serious trouble. So I had to drive back 2 counties over to the emergency room, and they literally put a shot in my jaw so they could open it up enough and then put a syringe in the back of my throat and started drawing out fluid. But that was like, okay. Dr. Barry is one that says carnivore makes you healthier. It doesn't make you bulletproof. It doesn't. You still get sick. But through all that, I found out that my doctor actually knows about keto, and I'm teaching him about carnivore. But then comes the summer whenever I was doing my um, putt-putting and not getting hot or overheated, and I'm going, whoa, this is really cool. And then I'm in Western North Carolina, and in September, we had a hurricane. Okay. And you know the topography of Japan, it's all mountains. Well, imagine trying to get anywhere with no roads. The hurricane did not flood everything. Yes, there was flooding. What it did is it knocked out all the roads. So we became an island in the middle of the country because literally nobody could get to us. There was no electricity, no water, no food. I actually was on the interstate one time when they finally got it opened. We had a convoy of 13 Walmart 18 wheelers with a police escort. I mean, whenever you get 18 wheelers with a police escort, you know it's serious. Well, we go to the grocery store. There is nothing in the grocery store. You know how you're supposed to shop around the outside? Well, there was nothing on the outside. I think there was like 2 packs of bacon. There was no eggs. There was no milk. There was no cheese. There was nothing around the outside. Okay. No electricity. I can't open my freezer. I've got all this nice frozen meat, but if I open the freezer, then I'm going to let the hot air in and I could spoil all my meat if it thaws. Luckily, we had enough. We ended up getting a generator, but we had enough so that my meat did not all spoil. Hallelujah. That was an awful lot of meat. But I needed something to eat until we got the power. Well, guess what you can buy at the grocery store that's not on the outside? I ended up getting Spam. For those of you who do not know what Spam is, it's some sort of mystery meat.
Right. It always struck me as something that's just grinded up stuff.
It's ground up stuff. It is pork. It's ground up stuff where they stuff it into this can, and apparently they cook it after it's in the can. So it's literally got the banding from the can on the meat. It's really nice meat. But, Dr. Berry, it's not as good, but it's not bad. It's just not as good. It's still meat. By the way, it does have some potato starch in it. Don't know why, but there is stuff in there. But it is very high in fat. Now, I was doing intermittent fasting on keto. I was doing intermittent fasting 1 meal a day and some um, fasting for longer periods of time to the point where on Halloween, yes, it was Halloween, I ate an entire box of chocolate candy bars and a bunch of candy, ate a dinner the next day, fasted, and by Friday, my weight had returned to normal, which is where it was before. It was actually a little bit down from before Halloween. But since I started carnivore, I couldn't do any longer fast. I couldn't even do 1 meal a day. My body, whenever I switched from keto, 1 meal a day to carnivore, I couldn't go the 1 meal a day. It's like my body wouldn't let me go that long. It says you need to eat now. You need to eat. Apparently, it found out, okay, you can eat meat. You need to start eating all meat. Well, I managed with 2 meals a day. And I'm going, okay, I need a little bit of fat. I started that spam. It was like I got up first thing in the morning. And Dave, I get up early in the morning. So here it is, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm frying me some spam. And I ended up doing 3 meals a day. Sometimes 2 cans of spam on those 3 meals a day. And spam is like 30% fat. So I'm stuck on spam, and I do that. I get stuck on a food, and I will literally eat almost nothing but that food for X number of days. Well, I got stuck on spam. Not the greatest meat, but it was meat and it was high fat. So I go, okay. So that's all of October and the first part of November. I'm doing 3 meals a day now. At least one of them is a can of spam. I'm going, this is not very good. Want to get better meat. So, what do I do? Well, where do you go where you can't get spam? I went on a 12
Steakhouse.
day. No, I went on a 12-day cruise.
Oh,
The only thing they don't do is spam. So, I'm on a cruise. And believe it or not, you can do carnivore on a cruise. Now, I don't know about the seed oils. I don't know about how they cook it, but I've been gluten free since, for years, since 2008, I think. I've been gluten free. I finally, from my little French loaf thing when I was 17, I finally said, well, I might as well just give it up. And it took me from the time I was 17 until I was in my 40s to give up bread. But I did give up bread. And so I was gluten free. So you go on the cruise, you tell them you're gluten free, that takes off all the sauces and stuff. And then you tell you just want the meat. And it's all you can eat. And sometimes I did 4 meals a day. I'd get up ridiculously early, and they had a restaurant open, so I would go and get me a ham and cheese omelet with bacon first thing in the morning. And then I'd do my 3 meals a day, all you can eat meat. But since the spam, I knew I had to do um, fat. So I always went by the bread area and got me 4 little packs, the little tiny packs of butter. And with every meal, I'd eat me 4 pats of butter. So that was 12 days.
and how were you feeling after those 12 days?
It was actually good. It's the first time I went on a holiday vacation in the last 15 years when I didn't get sick. Remember, anytime I get anything, I end up throwing up. So this is the first time I didn't get sick on a holiday. Didn't last though. I got home and I got another sore throat. Now, after what went on in the spring, I don't want another sore throat. Okay. So I call the doctor and I get the antibiotics. Well, the antibiotics require that you get the probiotics to replace your gut flora and say, okay, I'm carnivore. I haven't been doing much dairy. I'll do kefir because that's got the antibiotics. I mean, the probiotics. I did 2 days of kefir and my sinuses were so stopped up that I was having trouble breathing. So I got my CPAP back and I put my CPAP on. And at least now I could breathe during the night, right? Well, I did 2 days of kefir, one night of the CPAP, and all my aversion to meat, you eat meat, you throw up, came right back. But this time I could actually feel the GERD where it was coming up in my stomach. So here I am, just milk and eating and the CPAP, and it undid all this stuff I'd done getting to where I could eat meat. So now we're between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is the end of November to now. So I went and I got probiotic pills because I can't eat anything else. I don't eat the sauerkraut or anything like that. And the yogurt and the kefir have dairy, which is probably what stopped up my sinuses, making me need the CPAP. So I got off of all the dairy again. And within 2 days, it all went away and I was able to eat normally. And I'm going, whoa, that's just dairy and that's carnivore approved. I'm going, okay. Oh, by the way, while I was on the cruise the last day, they had a sugar free cheesecake. And if you know how to make cheesecake, it's cream cheese, sour cream, eggs, maybe a little vanilla. But it's all carnivore except the crust. Well, the crust also has gluten in it. So I asked for the sugar-free cheesecake, which means it doesn't have the sugar. And they said, well, we can't make that without the crust, or we can't make that gluten-free. And I said, all the gluten's in the crust. All you do is cut off the crust. And so I might have taught the cruise line how to make a, a gluten-free, carnivore acceptable dessert. You just cut off the crust and poof, you got cheesecake. So if anybody goes on a cruise, that's what you need to do. Just ask for the sugar-free cheesecake and cut off the crust. Anyway, so I did all this, got off my CPAP again, and it's Christmas time, which is 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, I go for Christmas dinner. I ate 2 spoonfuls of mashed potatoes and three, it's um, like an egg roll. It's got the rice paper around it. I ate three of those, and that night I couldn't sleep at all because the GERD was back. And I'm going, oh boy, I told you my digestive system has been messed up, and I'm going, all of a sudden I know exactly what's going on. I'm going, okay, I am literally not going to eat anything else. And so that's where I am now. Stayed off of it, and now I'm good. No GERD last night.
Oh, nice. So, well, congratulations on your results, and also congratulations on kind of doing this, kind of narrowing down what's going on to actually get to the point where can't do this, can't do that kind of thing, because that's important. Like everyone's gonna have, like some people are good with dairy, right? But it's just important to be flexible enough to go, dairy's not working for me, got to get rid of it. Yeah. Um,
It's it's serious. One time when I started on carnivore, I was 235 pounds or 107 kilograms. After eating my 3 meals a day of Spam before I got on the cruise, I got back up to 255 pounds, so 25 pounds higher, or 20 pounds higher, 116 kilograms. And now I'm back down to 240 pounds, or 109 kilograms.
And are you still doing 3 meals a day now?
No, that's the weird part. I did like the month and a half of the Spam and high fat. I did 3 to 4 meals a day on the cruise, high fat. I get home, I'm 1 meal a day.
And
I'm
so
going,
what is that, like breakfast, lunch?
I eat at lunchtime.
Okay. And what is that still high fat?
I try to make it high fat, usually beef. I do some chicken, ham, but I supplement with butter. And yes, butter does not bother me, but I have to get the extra fat in. And I'm one of the few people who is very happy with carnivore, having gained 5 pounds over a year.
Yeah. But the thing is, the weight loss is, whether it comes off or not, it's always a secondary thing, right? Because
Right,
everything else that improves is so much bigger, right?
right. It's so much more important to get everything else taken care of. I didn't even know. I think it was just silent GERD because whenever I'm sleeping, if I have the CPAP on, it's pushing everything down with the pressure. And so I never knew that I was actually suffering from GERD. And it wasn't until I got rid of it that I realized, oh,
And but that is better, right?
oh, it's like I said, after Christmas, I had it that night, and then yesterday I was back carnivore. Last night it was fine.
Right.
It just
That
flip flops like that.
that's amazing, like, especially something like GERD, people are spending thousands a year on medications, and just testing and changing your diet, you can minimize or perhaps eradicate it, right?
Right. And it's a lot better than it was, but now I can eat anything I want and I don't have to worry about side effects.
Hmm.
Um,
So, what you talked about being in with your husband in church when you realized, you don't need to wear the sunglasses anymore. And what does your husband think about this way of eating? Is he along for the ride, or is he just letting you do your thing?
okay, my husband's a little bit different. He is one of these guys, if he doesn't do at least an hour of physical activity a day, he drives me crazy because what can I do now? What can I do now? What can I do? But he's been suffering from skin cancers. He's a softball player, so he's been out in the sun all his life. And so whenever he has a flare up, he'll go carnivore. And he's pretty much keto all the time, but it's not got enough of the um, carbs. Well, he needs some carbs just because he's so physically active. But he like kind of goes between the carnivore and the keto, but he's pretty much keto.
And for you, is it kind of carnivore
I'm
all the
not going
way from
back.
now?
I'm not going back. Like I said, whenever I stood in church, I'm not eating another vegetable. I'll eat mashed potatoes, but they don't have the fiber and they don't have all the other stuff. And as far as um, effect, it doesn't. That's why I had 2 spoonfuls of mashed potatoes. But don't give me a broccoli sprout or anything like that. I mean, that's just crazy. No.
It's really nice to be able to pinpoint what was causing so many problems for you, right? Like,
Right.
most people that go through their lives thinking, "Oh, well, I just pulled the genetic short straw."
Yeah. And I haven't told you the other thing that happened when I was 17. This goes really into what happens. I'm a little bit weird, and I've told you that. Well, I've fallen most of my life, okay? And I will tell you, a lot of people have falling issues. And I forget who was on, I've been doing a lot of YouTube in this space, but somebody mentioned the fact that you go out and you do grounding. Well, I don't care about the grounding. What is going on is there's actually a nerve in the bottom of your foot that helps stabilize you when you walk. And so if you wear shoes all the time, then that nerve, you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. It just kind of atrophies and you don't have that, so you're walking along and you can just fall. And so you have this fall, and especially whenever you're getting up in age like I am, you can have some serious problems. They did a study of cultures that, you know, are barefoot all the time. The seniors in those cultures don't have falling problems. And they found this nerve on the bottom of your feet. And so every day I go out and I do some grounding, not because I want to ground with the earth, but because I don't like falling. Okay. I have fallen little times like most people do, trip over something. I have done that 3 or 4 times a year my whole life. Um, some of them worse than others, but last year, since I started the grounding, I haven't fallen. Two um, times that I did really bad falls. Usually I say I have to sit here, I can't sit there, and all that sort of stuff. I'm very picky about my seats. Um, I've been doing chiropractic every 2 weeks for years, and I'm talking decades. But whenever I was about 22, 20 something in there in the 20s, I went rappelling. If you know what that is, it's when the guys get on a rope and go off the side of a building. Well, I was standing on the top of a 3-story building. So there's 3 floors between me and the ground. I look down, I'm backing up to go rappelling. I look down, there's something wrong with my harness. I'm on the ground. And when the people ask me, why can't you sit here and all that sort of stuff, I say, I got really messed up. I just jumped up and went back and did it again. I mean, I'm weird. When they tell you that drunk drivers survive an accident, it's because they relax. They tell you you've got to relax, take this deep breath, let it out, relax. I tell you, when you need to relax, you don't have that much time. I'm falling off the top of a 3-story building. Relax. And then you bounce. My helmet went 50 feet that way. And I just got up and continued on with the rest of my day. You've got to be able to relax instantly. Okay, but when I was 7, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, because you don't have much time when it's only three. I mean, 3 stories is a lot when you're heading towards the ground, but it's not a lot time wise, right?
It's not a lot of time wise, and you don't have time to take a couple of deep breaths and walk yourself through relaxing. You've got to get relaxed immediately, or you're not going to survive. Anyway, when I was 17, in the carnivore space, you hear a lot of jumping on, falling off the wagon. I've worked with other people, and I say the most important thing you need to know is don't beat yourself up if you don't eat to plan, because we are omnivores. We can eat anything. It's just, are you going to feel good or bad afterwards? Is it going to mess you up? Whenever you get done, get back on the plan. Okay. I have the falling off the wagon story from HE double hockey sticks. Okay. You know how whenever you watch these movies where they go scuba diving and they've got their tanks on and they're sitting on the edge of the boat and they just go backwards and fall into the water. Me being my little autistic self can't handle when things go wrong. We're very rule driven. You better teach your autistic kids rules and make them follow them because they are rule driven. If you don't, you say there's no rules, they won't follow the rules. But if you teach them the rules, it's rule driven. I was going home. I needed to go home. I've got to go home. Okay. I was riding in the back of the pickup truck. Safety announcements, always wear your seat belts. If you're sitting in the back of the pickup, sit in the seat. Me, umpteen years ago, I was sitting on the side of the pickup. Actually, I think I was sitting close to the tailgate. Okay. On a gravel road, doing about 20 miles an hour, the driver was not speeding. He missed the turn to go to my house. Me being the little autistic person that I am, looks over, there's my driveway. He's not stopping, off the back of the pickup truck. At 20 miles an hour on a dirt road, for those of you who don't know the physics, that means I hit the ground doing the 20 miles an hour. I had no backpack left. Thank God I had a backpack on to begin with. I had no backpack left whenever I finished moving. Okay? Of course, the driver stops and I stand up. I wave, I'm fine. I'll just walk home. You got to remember, relax whenever you fall. So I stand up. I brush myself off. I say, that was incredibly stupid. And I walk home. I'm probably one of the few people who can actually say I've fallen off the wagon.
And the key is just to relax.
You can't relax. Most people, whenever you're in a situation like that, you tense up, and that's when you get hurt the most. But I fell off the back of the pickup truck, brushed myself off. That was incredibly stupid, and walked home. So, what do I do whenever I decide that I'm going to eat something stupid? I wake up the next morning having not slept the whole night because I've got GERD. I say, that was incredibly stupid. I go back to eating carnivore, and the next night I'm fine.
It's important, you just understand I made a mistake. Like you say, that was incredibly stupid. I made a mistake. And then it's just like, okay, I'm over it now. Let's just move on.
Right.
Because
But
otherwise you get into this death spiral of just continuing to beat yourself up and beat yourself up. And you got the tendency then to even go worse. I made a mistake. I may as well go to Krispy Kreme now.
I cringe whenever I think of Krispy Kreme.
Even when I was a carb addict, Krispy Kreme smelled too much like chemicals to me.
Yeah. One of your other guests said they didn't like the acronym of SAD, the Standard American Diet.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually pulled out a thesaurus and I said, English is one of these languages, we have a word for everything. And I found the word atrocious. The word atrocious, barbaric, appalling, horrifying, abominable, utterly revolting, and of very poor quality. So it's a standard atrocious diet, and I can't think of a better word.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. So, Wendi, if a friend came to you and said, "Okay, I want to get started on this. I've got some health issues. I want to see if I can get rid of." How would you recommend they start carnivore?
Well, I took my time. Like I said, I did almost 1 year of low carb and then a year of keto, and then I moved into it. I didn't have any of the side effects. But it wasn't until I turned keto that I started getting the medical advantages. I could lose weight on low carb and keto, but I didn't get the I'm off my CPAP, I'm off my, um, or I'm not doing GERD, and I'm getting rid of all my serious sensitivity issues until I hit keto. And then remember, it's not going to kill you if you eat something you shouldn't. You eat something and you get back up and do it again. Get back on carnivore and you'll be fine. And if you remember, like the bears and stuff, I think are the ones closest to our diet. What do? They find a berry patch, they eat every berry, and then they go on and they go back to their regular diet. As long as you give yourself the grace to, oh, okay, I didn't do a good job, but I can get back on my diet, they'll be fine. And if you don't want the keto flu and stuff like that, just take your time switching.
Yeah, very nice. So Wendy, how can people reach out to you?
I think I did that right. I am incredibly new to Instagram. Like, I just made the account. But Life Without Thorns, everybody reads Genesis and they say, okay, here's what it is at the Garden of Eden, and that's how we should remember, and that's what our diet's supposed to be. They don't read the after the curse. And the curse on no on Adam was actually that the ground would produce thorns. And if you think about it, that's basically what Dr. Chafee is saying is there's something out to hurt you. No, I don't think that plants are out to kill you, but there's some thorns out there. And that's the other thing with Daniel. There's actually books on the Daniel diet. And I'm going, have you read the book of Daniel? Daniel's diet was a miracle. Everybody knew you couldn't be healthy and smart and strong eating vegetables. That's why the Daniel diet was so um, miraculous, not because, oh, we just did vegetables and that's all you needed to know. The person in charge of Daniel and was responsible for his diet knew that that's how you don't get strong, healthy, and smart. And so it was a miracle that they became strong, healthy, and smart. And people don't realize Daniel's a book of miracles. And the person responsible for his diet knew how to make people strong, healthy, and smart. And it wasn't with vegetables. So if you want to eat vegetables,
Yeah. Beware.
beware.
Yeah. Um, no worries. I'll link to your Instagram in the show notes.
And it is on YouTube too. But
Oh, okay. I'll link to your YouTube as well. Yeah. Wendy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. I really appreciate
thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.